He was calmly dodging every question the detective threw at him. Nothing seemed to shake him. So the detective decided it was time to play the final card, the boot print match.
You're in a situation where you're pretty much in the area of fingerprints, okay?
Though the detective knew it wasn't a conclusive proof and cannot lead to conviction in the court of law, but it wasn't about the evidence. It was about shaking the wall the suspect had built around himself.
Your vehicle drove up the side of Jessica Lloyd's house. Your boots walked to the back of Jessica Lloyd's house.
But the pertinent question before us is, who is this guy? What happened on January 27, 2010?
They warned us to wash it with bleach.
Clean everything, and of course my daughter didn't sleep in her bedroom for 3 months after that.
And how, on that particular day, the detective trapped the most influential man in armed forces?
Yes, I think I'll have the opportunity to drop the puck at the beginning, a ceremonial dropping of the puck early on.
Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I may not have many followers, but your comment is a ray of hope for me.
Tonight, he is the most notorious pervert, rapist, and serial killer.
Worst of the worst.
Yes. Anybody do such a horrible, horrible thing?
In last month of 2009, a strange streak of crime started occurring when women in the area started realizing their underwears are mysteriously disappearing.
Daughter came running down the stairs telling us that all her underwear were gone. They did tell us that they took some DNA evidence from my daughter's bedroom, from her bureau, where the underwear drawer around that area.
They warned us to wash it with bleach.
Clean everything, and of course my daughter didn't sleep in her bedroom for 3 months after.
But this streak of crime took a sharp turn on a chilly night of January 27, 2010. As 27 years old, Jessica Lloyd was home alone. When around 10 p.m., an unknown man parked his SUV car near her home and approached her house slowly. He was wearing gloves and boots, not to leave any evidence behind. He broke in through a window, tied her up, and over the next 24 hours, sexually assaulted her while recording photos and videos. He later transported her to his cottage, where the abuse continued until he finally ended her life. He then dumped her body in a remote field. Jessica's sudden disappearance sparked a province-wide search, but the police didn't have anything in the evidence except tire marks and boot prints. So with this only evidence, the cops set up roadside checkpoints. They stopped every car, stopping drivers who regularly passed through the area. Among them was an army officer. He was calm, polite, too calm in fact. Something about him felt off. Officers collected tire impressions from every car. And when they compared the prints found near Jessica's house to the ones from this strange officer's SUV, it was a perfect match. They also noticed boot prints at the crime scene matched to the same officer's military boots. That's when things started to unravel. But this wasn't just another ordinary army officer. This was David Russell Williams, one of the most celebrated army officers in Canada. David William Russell was born on March 7, 1963 in England. When he was a child, his family migrated to Canada. But soon after this migration, his parents divorced. So young David had to adjust to a new stepfather and a new life. Despite the early shakeup, he seemed like the perfect student, quiet, disciplined and polite. He studied political science in the University of Toronto before joining Canadian military in 1987. Over the years, he rose through the ranks, becoming a respected colonel and even flying dignitaries like Queen Elizabeth. In 2009, he reached the peak of his career, taking command at Canada's largest Air Force base. But behind that polished uniform was a man growing increasingly withdrawn. Friends noticed strange behavior and emotional struggles. So, in early 2009, David Russell Williams started his secret life of crime while serving as the highest military officer. It started with breaking in houses near his Ottawa residence, where he would steal women's underwear.
Were urges. And 5 years ago, at age 42, he began acting on his fetish for women's underclothes. by breaking into homes of strangers and acquaintances alike to dress up, masturbate, and steal samples for his personal collection.
By 2009, Williams was no longer satisfied with just stealing lingerie. He began targeting women themselves. He committed 2 home invasion sexual assaults, binding and photographing his victims. Then in November 2009, he murdered Corporal Marie-France Como, a fellow military member. Just months later, in January 2010, he kidnapped, raped, and killed Jessica Lloyd, carefully documenting the entire ordeal. His crimes were chillingly organized. He kept photos, videos, and log for each act. But unlike all other crimes, this time he left boot and tire marks. So upon suspicion, the cops call him in for interrogation. And today we will also look into the psychological elements of this interrogation.
You just have a seat there, Russell.
The guy I was speaking with on whatever night that was Russ as well.
Oh, yeah.
And he took every number I had.
Yeah, no, they were doing some pretty thorough interviews that night. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
All
great.
right.
Glad to see it.
I'm just going to move your gloves there. That's a little microphone, just to make sure there's nice and clear. As you can see here, everything in this room is videotaped and audio taped.
The detective places himself between Russell and the door, certainly signaling that leaving is not as simple as it sounds. Though the colonel is technically free to leave, this non-verbal barrier imposes a subconscious sense of confinement, increasing psychological tension.
Territoriality and spatial dominance theory, which states that in confined spaces, one who controls access to movement exerts subconscious authority. The positioning amplifies discomfort and primes the subject for submission.
You ever been interviewed by the police in a room like this before?
I
Or?
have never been interviewed like this.
Oh, no? Okay.
No.
Let's get this set up there.
I guess the closest interview by NIS for top secret clearance.
Oh, yeah? All right. Well, again, Russell, I appreciate you coming in. An investigation like this, I mean, I'm sure you can appreciate it's been big news.
The detective refers to the colonel by his first name Russell and never used his military identity. Stripping William of his rank removes the psychological armor that comes with authority. It levels the power dynamics and makes him feel more like a civilian suspect than a commanding officer.
Power disruption theory. Individuals in high-status roles are less comfortable when placed in low-control environments. Removing status cues disrupts their self-concept and weakens confidence, making them more susceptible to influence.
There have been 4 occurrences, that, like I said, that we're looking into. 2 of those occurrences occurred in September of 2009. And very briefly, they were up in the Tweed area. They involved somebody entering 2 different women's houses in the evening hours and committing sexual acts. Okay. In November of 2009, a young lady by the name of Marie-France Como
My people.
was found murdered in her home in Brighton. And we believe that there was a sexual component to that crime as well. And then most recently we have Jessica Lloyd's disappearance. Okay, so essentially when you're looking at those kind of crimes, we're looking at a number of different potential criminal charges. All right. We're looking at issues all the way from the most serious one, which is first-degree murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, break and enter with intent to commit sexual assault, forcible confinement. Okay, and so what I want to make sure you understand, and this is what we've been doing with everybody we've been talking to, is that clearly when we find out who's responsible for one or all of those crimes, they could be charged with one or all of those offenses. Okay, whether it's you or whether it's anybody else. All right.
Smith reveals the crime gradually, first break-ins, then sexual assaults, then murder, without revealing the link to Williams just yet. This tactic avoids triggering panic or immediate denial. Instead, it draws the suspect into a web of acknowledgement that tightens slowly.
Foot in the door technique. Getting someone to agree to smaller disclosures first makes them more likely to concede larger truths later.
Russell, in a nutshell, that's what we wanted to talk to you about. Okay, those 4 cases are of concern to us, and you know, you've kind of almost hit the nail on the head about some of our issues that kind of make us want to talk to Russell Williams. Okay, because essentially there's a connection between you and all 4 of those cases. Would you agree? Geographically,
And then I guess I drive past, yes, I would have to say there's a connection,
Yeah, and that's why I'll be quite frank with you. That's why things kind of evolved when the officers talked to you on Thursday night.
The detective brings up the proximity of William's location to the crime scenes, asking if he agrees there is a connection. By getting the colonel to admit benign association, it paves the way for future incriminating admissions without triggering immediate defensiveness.
Consistency principle. Once someone agrees to a neutral or mildly incriminating statement, they feel internal pressure to maintain consistency, even when the stakes escalate.
So the next thing we need to cover off is, well, I'll just ask you this straight out. Given the types of crimes we're investigating, do you get much chance to watch television shows, CSI, things like that?
I do watch, I prefer Law and Order, but I do watch CSI occasionally, yes.
Okay. So you have an idea of, obviously, the forensic capabilities, things like that are out there. What would you be willing to give me today to help me move past you in this investigation?
What do you need?
Well, would you be willing to supply things like fingerprints, blood samples,
Sure.
things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Footwear impressions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The detective compares footwear impressions to fingerprints, despite knowing they aren't as conclusive.
I think that's what we're gonna ask you to do.
Okay.
All right. Now we have a process we have to go through to do that.
Okay.
And for the blood sample, I don't take the blood sample. We have specially trained officers that are trained to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to step out and make sure they're still available. We talked about the whole idea of how we've approached you here. Okay. The trying to be as discreet as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the problem is, Russell, is every time I walk out of this room, there's another issue that comes up. Okay. And it's not issues that point away from you. It's issues that point at you. Okay. And I want you to see what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is the footwear impression of the person who approached the rear of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I want you to keep in mind that this is slightly smaller, okay, in scale. Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's not to scale. The footwear is actually bigger.
Okay.
If you look here on the ruler, you'll see that 1 inch is just slightly smaller than an actual inch.
Okay.
Okay. But this is the way it prints off on the computer.
Yeah.
I'm going to move this over so you can see what I mean, all right? Because essentially when you're dealing with footwear impressions, we have a gentleman on the OPP who's basically world-renowned. His name is John Norman.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially with footwear impressions, you're in a situation where you're pretty much in the area of fingerprints,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And essentially what we're talking about here is, especially when you start adding in other pieces of information that
Mm-hmm.
support an investigative position.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a photocopy of the boot that you took off your foot
Yeah.
just a little while ago. Okay. Now, I'm not an expert in footwear impressions, so I rely on the experts. Footwear impressions are very much like fingerprint comparisons. Okay.
He exaggerates the match, calling it identical. This bluffs the suspect into believing the case is already scientifically airtight. It creates the illusion that denial is pointless.
Your vehicle drove up the side of Jessica Lloyd's house. Your boots walked to the back of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January. Okay. You want discretion. We need to have some honesty. Okay, because this is getting out of control really fast, Russell.
Illusory truth effect. When false information is delivered with certainty and repetition, people are more likely to believe it's true, especially under stress.
No, there's only one option. What other option is there?
What's the option?
Well, I don't think you want the cold-blooded psychopath option. I might be wrong, okay? Because don't get me wrong, I've met guys who actually kind of enjoyed the notoriety, got off on it, got off on having that label. Bernardo being one of them. I don't see that in you. If I saw that in you, I wouldn't be back in here talking to you, quite frankly. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you got me fooled. I don't know.
The detective tells Russell he is not a cold-blooded psychopath, but maybe I am wrong.
And it can have a bad ending where Jessica's parents continue to wonder where her daughter's lying. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a huge search still underway, and it'll continue. It'll continue until her body's found. That might even happen tonight, for all I know.
It offers two labels, monster or man. The only way Russell can reclaim a more humane identity is by cooperating and showing remorse.
Identity threat and self-categorization theory. People will go to great lengths to avoid negative labels and will conform to roles that preserve a more desirable self-concept.
This is getting beyond my control. All right, I came in here a few hours ago and I called you the way I called you today because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. But you and I both know you were at Jessica Lloyd's house, and I need to know why.
Well, I don't know what to say. It's,
Well, you need to explain it because this is the other problem we're having, Russell, okay? Again, these decisions are made by me. Right now, there's a search warrant being executed at your residence in Ottawa, okay? So your wife now knows what's going on. There's a search warrant being executed at your residence in Tweed, and your vehicle's been seized, okay? You and I both know they're going to find evidence that links you to these situations. Okay. You and I both know that the unknown offender male DNA on Marie France Comeau's body is going to be matched to you, quite possibly before the evening's over. Okay? This is a major investigation. The Center of Forensic Science is on call 24 hours a day helping us with this. Your opportunity to take some control here and to have some explanation that anybody is going to believe is quickly expiring. Okay? We're applying, the investigators now applying for a warrant to search your office. Right, these aren't decisions that we can say yes or no to. This is the practical steps in an investigation like this. And Russell, listen to me for a second, okay? When that evidence comes in, when that DNA match, when that phone rings and somebody knocks on this door, your credibility is gone.
The detective paints a near future where DNA and Prince's identity would be confirmed. But then he said,
Bottom line is that as soon as we get that piece of evidence that solidifies it, DNA, okay, as soon as the expert in footwear impressions, the expert in tire impressions calls and says, yes, I've examined those and they're a match, it's all over. Because as soon as that happens, where's your credibility?
this forward-looking framing forces the suspect to think about consequences not yet realized but inevitable, making confessions seem like damage control.
Temporal discounting reversal. Normally, people discount future consequences, but when vividly framed, future losses like total loss of credibility can override the need to maintain a lie in the present.
What are we going to do, Russell? What are we going to do?
Call me Russ, please.
Okay. What are we going to do, Russ? Is Jessica somewhere we can find her easily? Like, is this something where I can make a call and tell somebody to go to a location and they're going to find her, or is this something where we have to go and take a walk? Which direction are we heading in here? Russ, maybe this would help. Can you tell me what the issue is you're struggling with? What's the issue you're struggling with?
It's hard to believe this is happening.
When Russell finally cracks, the detective hands him a map and let him show where the body is, allowing him to regain a sense of control.
I want to minimize the impact on my wife.
Seems to be intact enough to realize that this is embarrassing and that he would have some shame at acknowledging fully that he did these things in contrast to a total psychopath.
I want to minimize the impact on my wife.
So do I.
So how do we do that?
Well, we start by telling the truth.
Okay.
Okay. So where is she?
Get a map.
Is she close to where she lives? I've got maps of that general area. Which town is she near? Why don't we start there?
I'm not sure if you give me a map of that covers Calabar down to the highway and over to Tweed and south, I'll show you.
Let me see what I got here. I might have something. Is she inside, outside? It's probably the biggest area I have there, Russ.
Yeah, you need more. You need a real map.
So where am I going on here to get to her?
In this block here.
Okay. So you're pointing to.
A detailed map of that area, and I'll show you where she is.
Okay. Is she close to a road?
Yep.
All right. Is it something where is she buried, or is she somewhere where if you walk there you would fairly easily see her?
It's here.
Okay. So she's south of 7, east of Tweed,
Mm-hmm.
west of 41.
Mm-hmm.
And what's this road here?
Not sure.
Neither am I. Okay. I'll be right back, okay? Do you want any water or anything?
Sure.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Giving Russell the ability to direct the next steps after being cornered shift his mindset from powerless to purposeful.
Reactance reduction. Once resistance is broken, offering a small amount of control reduces psychological reactance and encourages cooperation.
Okay, the obvious question I'm going to have for you is, when they go there, and they'll be there shortly, they're going to find her.
So you have how many different gradations of evil? 22?
22.
And where does he fit?
Either 18, which is moderately prolonged torture, or 22 for considerably prolonged and very agonizing. So high up on the scale.
David Russell Williams' trial started on October 18, 2010. He pleaded guilty to all 88 charges, including 2 brutal murders, 2 sexual assaults, and dozens of break-ins.
Hours before Russell Williams arrived, police were here.
No photo. Over the next few days, the court went through the shocking evidence he had collected himself. Videos, photos, and even notes where he wrote down every detail of his crime. The courtroom was silent as everyone watched these disturbing clips and listened to heartbreaking stories from victims' families.
My daughter came running down the stairs telling us that all her underwear were gone. They did tell us that they took some DNA evidence from my daughter's bedroom, from her bureau, where the underwear drawer around that area.
And they warned us to wash it with bleach.
Clean everything, and of course my daughter didn't sleep in her bedroom for 3 months after.
William showed almost no emotion. He sat while the truth of his double life as a respected military officer and serial predator was revealed.
As I went to my dresser to get, change of clothes, I noticed that the bedside drawers, the little tables by the bed, the drawers were open.
The judge and lawyers were clearly shaken by what they saw. The trial may have been short, but it left a deep impact on everyone in the room. It showed just how dark and twisted his actions really were. As during a 10-hour interrogation, William confessed to sexual assault and murder of Jessica Lloyd and Corporal Mary France Como, as well as over to 80 home invasions where he stole women's underwear. In October 2010, William pleaded guilty and received 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole for next 25 years. He also received additional terms for sexual assault, forcible confinement, and multiple break-ins. The case shows that appearances can be extremely deceiving. Even the most respected members of society can be hiding highly dangerous impulses. It teaches us to judge characters by actions, not titles, and highlights how manipulation, control, and lack of empathy can exist behind a perfect facade. Trust should never be blind. Thank you so much for watching this video.